I never used to drink during the day, and I used to work my ass off during the day. I used to work like a demon during the day. But as soon as I got home, my kind of reward would be, as soon as I opened the garage door, there would be a fridge in the garage. And I remember it clearly. I had 3 bottles of vodka in the freezer. My fridge up top was full of Corona beers. I'd have red wine in the kitchen. And for me, it was, as soon as I got home, it was a process. All right. And I was process driven, and that was just ingrained in me. So today we've got a very special guest with us on the podcast. He's a dear friend. I've known Paul for, I would say, 6.5 years now. So without further ado, my guest on this podcast is, and it's very, being the first podcast I'm running, it's very dear to me. And I'll explain why a little bit later. But Paul Heffernan, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My pleasure.
Welcome.
My pleasure.
Welcome to be
Paul,
nice to be your first guinea pig. Thank you.
Well, they say your first one is your best one. So, mate, I just want to say thank you. But I'd like it to be more of a conversation, relaxed chat.
Yep.
It's very much like what you and I do. Every couple of weeks or every month when we catch up on the phone, we just have a chat. We shoot the breeze, we chew the fat. We talk about what each other's doing, and but firstly, maybe if you just share a little bit about what you do, Paul, and maybe how you help people. Maybe give a bit of an insight how we met, and you tell your story, then I'll tell my story on how we met. So, it's quite a bit. It is a bit funny, but
yes. Firstly, what I'll do, Brendon, and thank you for the opportunity to be your first guinea pig, but that's okay. I love talking about MindShift. I love talking about my program. So I'll go back to where it first started for me. It was actually when I was 30, I realized I had a problem with alcohol and drugs and anxiety, depression. I was in the IT industry. I was very successful. I worked for some of the big boys, big IT companies, and but I ended up going away to a treatment center because I knew alcohol and drugs were ruining my life. They said, when you get out of here, go to 12-step program. So I went to a 12-step program. I still see some of my friends I still associate with 12-step programs. But I started to actually work with people. It was an avocation. It wasn't my vocation. It was an avocation. I just liked helping people. I seemed to have a knack for being able to help people. And what would happen, I started to learn more, and I saw a lot of patterns in people. And so I started my own online program after doing some workshops with people, and that's how I met you. Originally, after doing my first workshop, I did my first workshop at my golf club. I hired one of the rooms there because I was a sponsor, and that went really well. That was quite amazing, seeing the program being able to be used by people, and being able to understand what was going on for themselves without actually a psychologist or some specialist. I let them understand their realities of what's been going on for them with their problems. But I'll come back to that workshop led to, first I worked with people with alcohol and drug problems, and what I understood underneath it all, and at the core of this is really and I talk about negative emotions. I talk about emotions sitting in the body, and they're like a living entity. And see, when you do a talking therapy, that's just talking, and it is good to talk. Don't get me wrong, but what happens with the with the talking is that the emotion sort of comes up emotionally. It'll come up out of the body, but then it'll sit down back into the body again, and it's not released. And these are the things I've learned over working with hundreds and hundreds of people. One of my clients, Warwick, who's in Wellington at the moment. But he lived in his brother's basement for 8 years, suffering from depression, anxiety, had no hope, was on huge amounts of different medication. And I'll always say this to people, I'll never tell people, I'll let the specialist look after medication, I'll look after the emotions for them, show them how to be free from those. But Warwick's in town, we're going to catch up for dinner. He'll come up here, and he's now been free off all medication since February this year. He's living a great life. He's been living in Bali. He came back. And so he's got the freedom to make choices. And this is what MindShift is about. It's actually about letting go of all that negative emotion, and I call it traumatic emotion because it just sits there. And the best example I can use for anybody is if, say, for instance, and I just use this, there's lots of examples, but the best one is if anyone was bullied at school or somebody, because we always come across bullies. And what would happen is that you'd have a memory of that event, okay? And it lives in you as an emotion. First, it's the event. And you can't change any of this because it's a fact. These things happened. But so many people want to change it, but you can't change it. It happened. But it's what it's doing. It sits in you as an emotion, okay? And people, no matter what happens, they can talk 1,000 times about it. The event and the emotion is still in you, okay? And what we do with MindShift, we take and we look at that event squarely in the face, and then we look at the emotion. And it's like if somebody says, hey, look, I've got bullied at school. And every time, what will happen whenever they see someone similar to that person, it always bring up the emotion. It doesn't matter how many times, it always bring up the emotion. And what MindShift does is allow you to be free from that emotion. Now it'll come out and we let it go and we get on with life. For some people, it take a little bit longer, but it will eventually go because you'll see it for what it is. You'll see your truth from your past is actually, you've allowed it to control what's going on for you. So once you get rid of those negative emotions, the event can still be there, but it's not triggering off the emotion anymore. There's no emotion tied to it. You see it for what it was, you let it go, and then you move on. And then you can move in with MindShift. We go into planning our lives. We go into the thought processes. You see people say, just change your thinking. Well, when you've got a negative emotions tied up into the body, you can't change any of your thinking. You might do all the positive thinking. You might do it, Tony. And I watch people do Tony. My friends have done these Tony Robbins courses. I love Tony Robbins, but boy, they go and do the course. They're pumped up. They come back after a weekend with Tony. I saw them when they were in Sydney. They come back. Oh, mate, the most amazing. Go to Tony Robbins. Yeah. And I see them 3 months later, 4 months. What's happened? Oh, I'm still doing the same job. How's your life? Oh, it's just the same. What about Tony? Oh, that was great. That was one of the best things I did in my life, but nothing's changed. So I can do that by going to the movies. I go down and see a nice movie. I go, oh, what an amazing movie. I don't have to pay thousands.
That's right.
But, I deal with people. I can tell you, mate, I've dealt with every traumatic event, PTSD, abuse, everything. And I'm not going to get into it here. But I know people are free. You can go to my website and see all the testimonials from people, and, sometimes it'll happen really quickly for people. And sometimes they'll come to me about a couple of months later. They go, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I feel totally different. Something's moved. You want to ask a question?
So Paul, those that know me, right, those that are very close to me as well, they know my story. You know my story as well. I was suffering from alcoholism. And I think I got to a point where there was a catalyst in my life where I said enough's enough. And there was one day in particular I do remember. But I think what you call it is like a functioning alcoholic. I used to I never used to drink during the day, and I used to work my ass off during the day. I used to work like a demon during the day. But as soon as I got home, my kind of reward would be, as soon as I opened the garage door, there would be a fridge in the garage. And I remember it clearly. I had 3 bottles of vodka in the freezer. My fridge up top was full of Corona beers. I'd have red wine in the kitchen. And for me, it was, as soon as I got home, it was a process. All right. and I was process driven, and that was just ingrained in me. I literally wouldn't even kiss my wife. I'd be straight to the garage door. I'd have 2 glasses set up in the fridge. It would be, straight vodka, half a glass of vodka, straight down the hatch. But it never used to happen during the day. It was kind of like that ritual when I got home. And I think, Paul, when it got to a stage when, and here's the thing, I used to hide it so well. My wife didn't even know that I had a problem. I knew I had the problem.
Yep.
My wife didn't even know. Nobody really knew, but it was
Wow.
just me. And I think when it got to a stage, Paul, when I, there'd be certain moments when I'd be at home and my wife would probably go up to the toilet, and I thought, I've got 2 minutes here. I can quickly sneak in. I can have a quick drink and I'll be back. When it got to that kind of thought process for me, I it took me a while, Paul, but I really realized that
Yep.
um, I've got that problem. I need some help. And it was one Sunday, Paul, when my brother-in-law came over, and I think I started drinking probably because I was around the house. I was doing some things around the house. I think I started drinking from about 11 o'clock, which was unusual for me. My brother-in-law came over. We had a couple of bottles of wine, and my tolerance was very, very high for alcohol. And I think, and you would see this as well, wouldn't you? When people start drinking, their tolerance gets higher and higher and higher. So you have to consume more to get to that euphoric feeling or that numbness. And I went past that threshold, and it was even my brother looked at me and said, "Mate, are you okay?" And I couldn't string a word together, and I was very embarrassed. And that's when I came inside. It was probably about 6 o'clock at night. I went to my computer, so I thought, I've got to find some help. And I punched in Alcoholics Anonymous, and guess what came up? Your website. All right. So I opened the website up. I put all my details in, and then I heard the study door open. So I looked around, and it was my wife, and I quickly closed. And I swear she probably thought I was looking at porno or something like that, which I don't. But
Yeah.
I quickly closed it down because I was embarrassed, right? But I'd already put my details into your site, and I pressed submit. Okay.
Mhm.
And I totally forgot about it.
Remember.
And the next day we were close to work. I was having breakfast. I think it was about 9 o'clock in the morning, Sydney time. I was having breakfast with my wife and my young son, and the phone rang, and it was a New Zealand number. And I thought, oh, this is strange. And my dad always said to me, he said, "Brendon, could be a deal. Got to pick up the phone. It could be a deal because we're in sales." So, and I had that moment where I thought, I'll let it go through to the voicemail, but I didn't. All right.
Yep.
So I picked it up, and you were on the other end of the line. Okay.
I remember
And
clearly.
100%. And what had happened is that you said to me, I said hello, and you said, "Brendon, you put your details, or you got a problem with alcohol." And because I'd drunk so much, Paul, I literally spun out. I didn't know what was going on, didn't know how to handle myself. And I thought, who's this guy on the other end of the line? He knows that I've got a problem with alcohol. And remember what I said to you? I said, "Oh, listen, Paul, I'm just having breakfast with my family. Can I give you a call back?" And
Yep.
you said to me clearly, and you were dead fast in what you said. You said, "Brendon, mate, if you've got a problem, you have to. It's a matter of life and death. You have to call me back." All right. And I did, didn't I?
You
It was
did
about a
in the
couple of
car.
hours, about an hour later. I called you back,
No, it was only about 30
and we
minutes.
spoke. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I finished up, and I called because I was so
You did.
intrigued. All
Yeah.
right. And then it started to recollect to me. So it started to come back to me about where
Mm.
the pieces started to come back together. And I rang you, and we spoke for about 2.5 hours on the phone, didn't we? And
I don't know.
we
You
sort
usually
of,
don't like speaking that long, so it might have been an hour and a half,
mate,
but not 2.5 hours.
Oh, okay, yeah, but yeah, you're right. I think I was still pissed from the night before, so it must have been 2.5. Yeah, I thought it was 2.5. But we spoke for a long time. But we had this connection,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Uh, and from that moment, I started the course with you, all right? And I clearly told you, Paul. I said I'm not the type of guy that wants to sit around in a room full of guys, share his story.
Mm,
I said I'm a businessman. I'm very
yep.
personal. I don't want to do that. So I said to you straight up, I said, if you want me to go and sit in a room with a group of guys, I said, I'm out. And I remember you telling me, I said, no, it's just you and me, one-on-one. We talk to each other. We speak each morning, 7:30 in the morning for 2 weeks. We'll go through the process. And mate, 6.5 years later, I haven't had a drop of alcohol since. And mate, we speak probably, and we still laugh about that day, don't we?
Mate, I've
We still
never
laugh about,
forgotten it. You know, you're going, who?
um,
Who?
yeah, I said, who the fuck are you? I didn't swear, but I'm thinking,
You didn't
who is
swear.
this
We
guy?
don't swear. Okay.
No, I know, no. But I say to a lot of people, Paul, and I know you think differently, but mate, you saved my life. Okay.
Thank you.
I
Thank
know
you.
you say, oh, it was all you. You did it all, but mate, if you didn't have that website on, you weren't available to
Correct.
talk,
Mm,
mate. I literally, I don't know
mm.
where I'd be. So, mate, you're
Well,
very
the nice
special to
thing,
me,
Brendon,
and
you
I
actually
know it.
are, you do know where you are now. That's the main thing. And that's all that matters. And I'd
Mm,
like to come in here now and just say, from that day, um, when you came on, you actually threw yourself into it. You know, I have the program. I know how the process works here. Okay. And I say to people, I said, I'm the expert in doing this.
mm,
Okay. But you have to do the work, and you were willing to do the work, and you did the work and you threw yourself into it. I get people, I can tell straight away when people aren't really buying in. They're hesitant. Okay. And you bought in.
mm,
And I've, you know, I watched your business. You went through stress of business, stress of family, and as time just, you know, and it went really quickly because you actually, you know, you got to see how it worked, and it becomes part of you. The program MindShift becomes part of your life. I practice it every
mm.
day. You know, I woke up this morning a little bit anxious, and I didn't even know what it was about. Okay, and I just sat still for a moment. I
Yep.
went through the process of MindShift. I went, okay. And within a few minutes, I was fine. I was good as gold. Okay.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
think about the people I deal with, and I look at their lives change. And that's all I care about, is that they're in a hole. They've hit the rock bottom we talk about. They've had enough. Okay. That's the most beautiful place to
Mm,
get. And it mightn't be for you, or it wasn't for me. But when you get to that place, the jumping off point, and you reach out for help, okay, whatever it is going to be, um, then, you know, when people come to me at that place, I can actually help them because they're ready to listen. They've got the cotton wool out of their ears and they've put it in their mouths to say, my way's not worked. Okay. My way hasn't worked. I need a new way. Now, the amazing thing with MindShift is that it's progressed from, and I've got to thank Google because they stopped me advertising for alcohol problems, you know, they said, you can't do it.
mm,
But then I talked to all my clients, and I said, "You guys, you know, do you guys suffer?" And when I did the workshop, do you guys suffer from anxiety and depression? Everyone who said, "Yeah," and it was a core, and this is what allowed me to find really the core secret around the emotions. Okay, is that okay? It allows people like yourself, Brendon, to be free from that. You don't actually have to do, oh, I do this or do that. You know what to do. The
mm.
program we show you shows you how to live life on your terms. You don't have to go to a meeting. Okay. You don't have to do anything, but as long as you're honest with yourself, as long as we get rid of that
That's right.
past
Yeah.
shit, I'm still like a young person. Oh, I've got so much work to do. Oh, I'm so busy. This is
Mm,
wonderful. Who else can I help? Who
yeah.
else wants help? And a lot of people, and this is one of the things that happens with people with these problems, is the emotions are so entrenched in their bodies. I was talking to a guy at a party. We had the elections here, And the guy was saying, he asked me what I did. And I told him, he said, oh, yeah, I should give you a call. And I've got a lot of this stuff going on. I said, great. So I contacted him. He's a mate of my mate. He's a brother of my mates. And I said, hey, do you want to catch up? He said, oh, yeah, I'm just really busy. And the reality is those emotions that we have that sit in us, they don't want to go. They're like, people may understand, they may not understand this, but it's like having a living entity within you, okay, controlling how you run your life, okay? And while they're not threatened, life can go quite all right. I actually worked with a young guy. And just, he's got 4 kids. And he's going through the process at the moment. He's being a bit reticent doing it, but he's done really well so far. But his father-in-law, who I know, said, hey, mate, can I do it? Yeah, there's so much that happens with this program. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. It's helped so many people, and the way it does, it allows them to take control of their own life. Not having to go to a meeting to meet the psychologist or to an AA 12-step meeting, or, you can actually sit there and work through it and understand what's going on. I just thought, what I'd like to do is just go through how the process of MindShift works for people, okay? Is that all right?
Give us some gold.
So, guys, if you're listening to this and you're wondering, this guy rambling on, the key thing with MindShift is that it takes in our lives, we go through lives and negative events actually happen to us. Negative events, some traumatic, some not. But they do happen, and they sit inside, as I said before, they sit inside us as a negative emotion, okay? And they sit there comfortably, and they stay there for years and years and years. But eventually what happens, and some of them are quite traumatic. That's why, I deal with people there's nothing I haven't dealt with a person. And so they sit there. I was like Brendon. I was functional. I was in the IT industry. I had a functional life around, and same thing. At the end of the day, that was time to hit the piss, okay, and get on it. But then, and then I realised afterwards that once I got sober, that I had to deal with a lot of things. And when I go and work with people, I just say all we've got to do is we clear the past first. Because we don't clear the past and clear the stuff that's there, it's going to come back and bite us right in the bum, okay? And so this process is understanding that you never can change a past event. We just look at square in the face and we go, bang, these are the things that have happened in my life. These are the people I blame. These are the things that have happened that have caused me to become the person I am. And I don't want to be that person anymore. I'm tired of it. And that's when you hit the rock bottom. And then what we do is really just go through and we go whack it. We whack every negative event, every little thing, even the little ones and the big ones, because they all add up, okay? And that's the key. And then it's like you, Brendon, you've gone on, you're doing MPLOI, you're doing the podcast, you've got so much on your plate, okay, like myself, we're doing lots of things, but there's a freedom. We don't actually go at the end of the day, oh, now I've got to have a beer. Now I've got to have a vodka. I've got to have a joint. I'll go see my wife, or Julie and I'll go like yourself, with the family. Oh, we'll go and do something. It's a freedom. It's a freedom from worrying about anything that's not there. The last one, he was running a manufacturing company. He just said, I'm just damn well stressed. I'm shouting at my staff. I'm getting frustrated. And once we went through MindShift, he goes, mate, I would have paid you $1 million for this. The way, I saw where the problem was. It was me. It wasn't my staff.
Yeah.
And now I've got this relationship with my staff again. And one of his staff members did it. And all of a sudden there's this real bond there. And this is what I say, MindShift is for people who actually just want to be free of their stuff. Okay. Not everybody else's.
Wow.
And when a staff member did it, the same thing happened. And those two have this relationship, which is, they understand totally. They help each other. And it's like, I realized that it was a program for living. I rang you at 7:30 Australian time because I wasn't sure if it was So there's a freedom. I'm relaxed about life. We're looking at moving properties and doing things and moving by up the line somewhere. But we've got all these plans and there's nothing holding us back.
The only thing that holds you back is it's yourself and the addiction. And But I think one of the, and I look at where I am now, and I think to myself, if I was still on that same path of 6.5 years ago, I wouldn't have. I think relationships would be destroyed.
Yeah.
And I told you about a beautiful moment I had with my son the other day, and I don't know what we were talking about, the three of us, and I think that we started speaking about drinking alcohol, my wife and I, and young kids, they hear a lot of things, and
Yep.
my son said to me, "Daddy, why don't you drink alcohol anymore?" Right? And I said, "Oh, because I want to be a better dad and a better husband." And he just got out of his chair and he came over and he gave me the biggest hug ever.
Yeah.
And he said, "I love you, Dad." This isn't from an 8.5-year-old, right? That doesn't know really the effects of alcohol, doesn't know the effects of addiction.
Yeah.
But I can tell you now, I have a better relationship with my wife. I have a better relationship with friends, family, my son, because I've been able to deal with it. And now, Paul, I get a lot of people say to me, "Oh, can you have a quick sneaky one?" Or I don't want to. I don't give a shit about it. Yeah, it's fine. But I can go to a place where people drink now. I've got myself to a level now where I can go out to a pub.
Correct.
Everybody can be drinking, and I can sit on mineral water, and I'm in the moment. I'm happy. I don't feel like I have to have a drink. And I can tell you now, I don't want to. I've got my mind, that mindset you spoke about. My mindset is at the level now where
Yeah.
I'm kind of beyond the alcohol. I get my thrills from just waking up in the morning and knowing that I've got a straight head. My mind is so sharp now. Being in real estate, you have to. It's being in real estate. It's when I was doing open homes, people used to be amazed that I could see them 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I would remember their full names when they came through the front door. Yeah.
Yep.
But you know what? I was starting
Remember
to
them.
lose that pool.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
was that was
Yeah.
that was starting to go, and I'd have mind blanks. I'd be in meetings, sales meetings, and I'd have mind blanks, and I could feel the saw. You know how they say keep the saw sharpened. I could feel the saw. My mind started to get dull, and they were key moments. So they all were key moments to help me say, okay, well, this got something got to change. Something got to change. So, but now I'm back. I'm back, baby. So, the mind is so sharp. I've got so many things going on, and you would recognize this in people that you work with as well. I know that you see it. I know you see people's progress, and hopefully, mate, as I said to you, I don't mind being your poster boy. I'm here to sing your praises because, mate, I'll tell you now, 100% you saved my life, right? You helped me out of a hole, and I can tell you now, mate, what you charged me for it, because all over, mate, you didn't do it for free, mate. You're worth 100 times that. I can tell you that now. All right, you are too cheap. Okay,
Just put the check in the mail, mate.
you.
Yeah. Well, it's not actually. You know what? It's not about the money. It's actually about seeing people's lives change.
Mate, mate, I agree with that, but still, you have to know your worth as well, and you're helping people out, yeah, and you're right. When you see people's life change, when you know you've got a good product, when you know you're genuinely there to help people out, the money will come. The money just flows through. It does come. So I know that's not your focus. Your main focus is helping people out, like you did with me. The money trickles on for that. So, but what I wanted to ask you, Paul, is like someone sees this podcast and they want to reach out to you and they want to talk to you and they want to just start the process and just have a chat. How do they get in contact with you?
Oh, they just go to www.mindshiftworks.com. It's real simple. And they can ask some questions like, you fill in the questionnaire through Calendly and you make an appointment. And, it starts the process. But I always say to people, make sure, you're ready because it's going to be a trip, and it's, you get to see, the only person who gets to see you is yourself. And you can see it. It actually just opens you up to yourself. You do the work, you get the benefits. and you'll see the patterns what have been sabotaging your life. And, you know, I've seen my wife and I have been together since we're 16 and 17, and she saw the worst of me.
Yeah.
And then I always said to her, "Why'd you stick with me?" She said, "I didn't want to see another woman get the best of you when I'd seen your bad side." And you know, that relationship gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And I'm just amazed at, you know, how a relationship, you know, we're 65, 64, gets stronger as time goes on. Okay. And my wife's been through MindShift. Okay. And she loved it. A couple of my kids have been through it. Okay. There's a couple more need to go through it, and they will. And that's fine. You don't want to do so. I don't want anyone to go through MindShift if they don't really want to change. You know, don't do it because your wife's telling you got to do something. Don't do it because your husband's telling you. Don't do it because your boss. Do it because you want to do it, like you did, Brendon. You wanted to. You knew there was something wrong. You did it, and you just got stuck into it. That's the key thing. That's what I'm going to say about you. And everyone who really gets the most out is when they get stuck and they want it. They know things aren't working well.
Just on that, Paul, obviously some people maybe struggle to recognize that they have a problem, but in their subconscious or conscious mind, they know that they have to get some help. All right. Obviously, what do you think are some key points that to help people recognize that they do have a problem? All right. Because I think the number one thing is denial. So you deny that you've actually got a problem. Okay. But obviously there might be some key points that you might better quickly share with us to say, okay, well, this is happening in your life, or this is happening in your life. Maybe you should be asking the questions and just having a conversation with, because the conversation or the quick conversation with you doesn't cost anything. And so you might be able to help people recognize it, saying, listen, and you'll be able to tell people whether they're ready or not. All right. I'm sure you don't want to take people on a journey if they're not ready for it. Would that be the case?
Great question. Great question. Very good question, because it really made me stop and think about what you just asked me. We'll put it to alcohol. Okay. The key one with alcohol is when you keep doing the same thing over and over, thinking you're going to get a different result. Okay. And then you question yourself, like, you know, why do I get home late? Why do I drink every 3 days? Why is my wife always at me? You know, it could be just in life that, you know, life's not working out the way you want it to. And you've tried everything. You've tried all sorts. I get a lot of people come to me after they've been to the psychologist, the psychiatrist. They've done the talking therapy. They've done the medication. I love it when they come with me to meet with medication. And they said, yeah, I'm on this. And I go, how's it working? And they stop and they go, it's not, is it? I said, I don't know. Only you can answer that. You know, why would you come to me if it was working? And so the thing is, as a person, I come back. I can't tell if they're ready. They're the ones who've got to have the doubt in their mind going, actually, the way I'm living life is not working anymore. You know, I might still be successful, but why do I get pissed off? Why don't I go home? Why do I make excuses? Why do I always feel anxious? Or why do I feel this nervous disposition? Or it could be 1,001 things. And I can't tell them. You know, they're the expert who knows you as you. You know yourself intimately. And with MindShift, it allows again for people to go, actually, I know what's going on. I've got to keep reviewing myself. I've got to look at my behaviors, my patterns. You know, there's some behaviors this behavior I used to have when I was younger, it's no longer there. It's gone. You know, but I had to work for that. I worked at it. Yep. So I didn't like it. Yep. I got to review my whole life like you have.
The biggest gift you can probably give someone or one of your family members, you know, is fixing yourself, you know, and it's the biggest gift to yourself and also for your family members as well. I'm going to finish off there. What I would love to do is I'd love to have you back on again. And we can talk a little bit more about the process and what you can do for people. But I just wanted to say from my heart, mate, I love you. I appreciate you, mate. You've given me a wonderful gift. I'm not sure if the people that you look after tell you enough, but mate, you're a wonderful human being. All right. And I do appreciate you. I just really say thank you so much. Thank you too, buddy. All the best. Talk soon, Paul. Bye-bye.